Are your savings going to disappear? Hey everyone, it's Vimbai here, and I'm going to be talking about inflation and, the impact of the quantitative easing that has been happening in the year 2020 around the world by nearly every single government to try and cushion the glow of, COVID-19 and, the real impact that has on our money and, the money that we put in savings accounts. So I'm going to take a very quick example to try and explain what inflation is. In summary, inflation is when you have more money chasing fewer goods. So we have Mike. Mike is selling his house. Mike has looked at the market and, real estate agents have told him his house is worth about 100 grand. Great. Mike puts his house on the market for 100 grand and he has about 5 people who are interested. Fantastic. They want to buy his house. 4 of them offer 100 grand. One of them puts in a cheeky offer of 95 grand. Great. And then all of a sudden, the government decides to offer a new scheme to help house buyers actually purchase a house. And they also simultaneously use that lever of, Bank of England or, the Federal Reserve uses that lever to reduce, interest rates. So what does this mean? Mortgages are cheaper and therefore more people can afford them. So now we have way more people that can afford to buy a house. And Mike now has 20 people interested in buying his house instead of the 5. And because the 20 people are aware of the competition, they now start upping their offers. Well, first of all, Mike decides that, hang on a minute, I've got more people who are interested in buying my house. I could ask for more. So Mike decides to put up the price of his house from 100,000 to 120. And all those 20 people trying to buy his house start competing with each other. And some of them start gazumping and getting desperate and saying, you know what, I really love this house. I want this house. And one of them offers 140, the other one 150. And essentially we start seeing that the value of Mike's house has gone up by absolutely no work or effort of his own. He hasn't extended his house or refurbished his house or added a loft conversion or nothing. He's literally done nothing for the value of his house to go up. But it has, because demand has increased. So this is the fundamental summary of what inflation is. You have more money chasing the same supply of goods, increase in demand, but no increase in supply. And this leads to price inflation. Prices go up. So you go in the grocery store, the tin of baked beans costs you £1. Next year it costs £1.20. Often it is not that extreme and we don't feel it in an extreme way. It's supposed to boost economic activity and, great governments will balance this out with productivity. So, Mike has these 20 people trying to buy his house goes up in price. Now, if this continues endlessly, this could get astronomical and ridiculous. What the government does is the same low rate of borrowing is on offer for businesses, and some of those businesses are contractors, builders. Boris Johnson in the UK says build, build, build. Why? Because now we have jobs being created from people, in construction companies. Those people being paid, are earning a salary. They can afford to also purchase houses, but also these builders are now increasing the supply of housing. So now these 20 people don't just have one house to choose from, i.e. Mike's. They now have 5 houses to choose from because all of these builders have built other houses. And this means that they don't have to fight each other and compete each other for such high prices for the house. They can now start to offer less for the house, and it tends to balance each other out that way. So things don't get as extreme. But the issue is, if there is no productivity to balance out, the amount of money and supply of money being provided, it can become a really disastrous situation. Now, my concern with 2020 and everything that's happening with COVID is all of this quantitative easing that has happened is a way more than any quantitative easing that has been ever done, ever in the history of anything. It is the most amount of money printed in the history of our lives and just, the history of printing of money. And right now, because of the nature of what has caused the pandemic, there is very limited amount of productivity to balance out the amount of money that's being printed. People are not able to produce as much. People are not able to carry out the economic activity that promotes the economic activity, that promotes productivity, that promotes, the creation of wealth. So what does this mean for our money? And actually, before I even get to that, I'm just going to show you the Bank of England website, and they're very black and white, very clear on how much quantitative easing they've done. And they've got this handy little graph that actually shows you and tells you how much quantitative easing, i.e. money printing, they've done and why. So as we can see over here in 2009, they printed $200 billion worth of cash to help. And they actually say it here. It was to help the economy through the financial crisis. Now, this is after the 2008 great financial crash. And that was $200 billion worth. And if anyone remembers the 2008 crash, it was awful. Lots of people lost their jobs. I remember I was looking for a job at the time and I could find no, it was just awful. Now, if you thought that was bad, just take a look at where we are today. March, June, and November of 2020. In that period, in this 1 year of 2020, we have done over 4 times the amount, $895 billion worth of money printing. And it clearly says here, increased to help the economy during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is 4 times the amount of cash printed in comparison to the cash that was printed to help with the 2008 crash. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that incredibly concerning. And, especially knowing that, there isn't much at the minute that is helping balance that out. And, the hope and the wish is that economic growth and activity will increase in 2021. But if it doesn't, we need to be making sure that we are shoring up our finances and preparing ourselves for what might be a very rocky 2021 economically. Now, this taking us back to our savings accounts, we now know that if we put money in our savings accounts, that money is losing value by the day. It only takes having a conversation with a grandparent or someone of a much older generation, and they will very easily tell you that, to buy a loaf of bread, it used to cost me, threepence or a penny or a quarter or whatever. And that same loaf of bread fundamentally is made up of the same stuff, but it costs way more. So the value of your money is always decreasing because of inflation. I have never heard of a millionaire who said they made money by saving money in a savings account. It ain't gonna happen. It's never happened, and it just will not happen because of the way our economies function. It's just not a possibility. So if we know this, and if you know that you want to grow your wealth, putting it in a savings account is not going to get you there. So the only reason that I would ever have money in a savings account, or the only 3 reasons, is number 1, for an emergency fund. This is probably more important now than ever, is preparing for bad financial times. We in our household will always make sure that we have a minimum 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Should myself or my husband ever lose our jobs, we still have something in there to cushion covering our bills and our expenses until we can find more work. So that is the very first thing, is making sure that you have an emergency fund. And I would put that in as best a savings account as I can find, which is very difficult right now. The second reason why I might put money into a savings account is if I am saving towards purchasing an asset. Now, this is if you're looking to maybe purchase a house. There is no other way to get a house without saving for that initial deposit. Any good bank will require you to put something in before they give you a mortgage. And there's no other way around it. You just gotta do hard graft and save that money. It's long and painful, but it's worth it. So that is the second reason why I might put money into a savings account. It is because I am working towards purchasing an asset that will grow in value over time. Okay, the third reason why I might put money into a savings account is if I need to make a purchase within the short term. And when I say short term, I mean within 1 or 2 years. So if we are looking to upgrade our vehicle or purchase a car to replace the one that we have, we will always buy a car cash, and that is money we will have to save up for. We never use finance to buy a car. So that might take a year or 2 depending on the value of the car, and we would put that in an easy access savings account as well. So needing to access money short term is, the last reason why we might put money in a savings account. Anything else for the medium to long term, we will always invest that cash. We will put that money, either in index funds or in investments that we know will grow over time. And, if you've watched my video where I talk about how I lived through a period of really high inflation, and I'll put a link to that video if you're interested, there are some really fundamental lessons I learned living through and actually seeing what it means for a loaf of bread to cost, $5 one day and then 3,000 the next. It's an untenable situation. And one of the key lessons I learned is that hard assets always go up in value because they try to maintain their intrinsic value to keep up with the rate of inflation. And so that is why I'm perfectly comfortable with putting my money towards assets, even in very difficult times. You have to also take into account how old you are, and your life in the next 5 to 10 years. I am at an age where I'm perfectly comfortable with, my investments going down -5, 10, even -20%, because I can afford to have the time, God willing, I'm still alive, that in 10, 15, 20 years, that money, I can afford the time to let that money build back up to its original value and hopefully more in the future. But it will retain its value more than money just put in the bank. So, these are kind of the fundamental principles that I hold on to when it comes to money and where I put that cash. Hopefully you found something in there that's useful, and just got an understanding of the impact of, when they say that the inflation rate has gone down, what that really means for your savings in your bank account. If you found that useful, please click the like button, and I shall see you on my next video. Bye-bye.